Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Success Beyond Scales, where we are developing a roadmap, a blueprint for lasting health, wellness, and peak health. We're not just talking about creating weight loss over here. We are actually talking about lasting weight loss transformation, such that you are able to enjoy peak health and vitality. That is not a tall claim. It is indeed a possibility, and it is my endeavor through these series to help you develop a scientific and evidence-based framework for yourself. Let me share my screen with you, which will allow me to better make my point. So, as we have just mentioned, that the whole premise of the program is to create empowering strategies for lasting weight loss success. In case you don't know me, my name is Dr. Arun Dhir. I'm a gastrointestinal and a weight loss surgeon. I'm also a yoga and a meditation teacher, and I truly believe that developing a holistic framework of health and well-being is the way to achieve lasting weight loss success. I also say this, that lasting weight loss success based on a framework has to be unique to you. This framework can have broad principles. However, how you apply those principles will be unique to your circumstances. As you already know, I have written several books. I'm also a director of Body Genesis Institute. And also, very importantly, I've got paid programs and other things. I always say, take the best and leave the rest. This is not me trying to convince you to buy anything from me, not at all. I'm here as a source of information. And if you trust the work that I'm doing, take it and check it yourself and then apply it. So I'm also grateful to Monique, who is my co-host in these, I should say, series that we are developing. And I appreciate all the help that she provides with coaching our clients one-on-one to help them overcome mindset challenges. Who is this program for? Let me repeat this because it is important for you to understand that if any of these characteristics describes you, which I will read out in a moment, then this program is going to help you. So, first is, do you fret and worry about every ounce of food that you consume? Do you triple check the ingredients? How much sugar is there? How much fat is there? How much carbs are there? And people blame and shame carbs. You've tried several diets in the past, including maybe medications and tablets and injections, but you have still struggled. You check the reviews of everything that you do time and time again, and you also weigh yourself every day. Now, that is something that I often see with women, and I'm not here to try and protect men. Men have their own set of issues, such as poor self-esteem. Do you exercise and then you say, you know what, I have given it up because it doesn't work anymore? Are you somebody who has just let yourself go and you think, who cares anyways? I could never look fit ever, thanks to my parents. Let's blame them because they're not here. Or you just say, let me drink my worries away, and you lose yourself in a bottle of booze. Or you just work yourself so hard that you are so tired and you say, you know what, I'll try it tomorrow. And we know what happens. Tomorrow never comes. Again, a 1 year, and 1 year later, nothing has ever changed. So if either of these things describes you, I'm only mentioning this with respect and a recognition that these are the challenges that individuals are facing time and time again. And my endeavor through these presentations is to help you develop a fresh outlook. And in this episode, particularly, we'll be talking about nutrition and gut health. We acknowledge that anybody who may have had weight loss surgery or a gastric balloon, or maybe trialing injections and weight loss medications, has got physical changes happening in their body. You heard me right. Even with the weight loss medications, your stomach emptying slows down. We call it in medical terms, gastric emptying time reduces, which means your stomach is not able to function like a normal stomach. So there are those variations. Well, if you have had surgery, then clearly your stomach size would be smaller. You would have swallowing issues. You may experience malabsorption and dumping associations. But there are also changes in the mindset, because the mindset of the individual who has had long-standing issues with weight is wired, is conditioned due to their previous wiring, their self-image, their self-judgmental attitudes and belief systems are the main drivers which sometimes come in the way. And unless we acknowledge and address them, we will never be able to address this issue in the long term. And we are building a step-by-step protocol, a step-by-step system so that these can be addressed. Besides this, emotionally speaking, individuals who have had weight issues have got fear of failure. They have got their own emotional triggers, blind spots, and also sometimes there is lack of that self-control, which leads to more stress, which leads to more reactionary behavior. And lastly, I do bring this angle, this dimension of a spiritual aspect to our being. If you are somebody who is just working on the physical and emotional aspects of this without addressing this dimension, well, I'll tell you, you will be missing a key element. And by spiritual dimension, I do not mean going to the church and going to the temple every weekend. No, I think it is important to recognize that your own guidance mechanism is within you. It's about getting in touch with it. How do you do that? By the practice of letting go, forgiveness, understanding that you are worthy, and self-care is actually allowing that inner self to nurture and also developing resilience. Now, these are deeper concepts, I get it, but I think it is important to acknowledge that their relevance in your lasting health and well-being are crucial. So, without further ado, let's progress on this health optimization roadmap that we are working on over the course of this series. I've always said that my endeavor is to help you create a system, because a system or a framework, as they say, systems create sanity. Everybody wants peace of mind. That's the most precious asset. And you can only achieve it when you have developed a system. And to put it in very simple words, a system is nothing else but a habit. So, we are talking about a 7-step healthy habits blueprint. And today we're going to be talking about nutrition and gut health. So let's talk about the key references that I'm going to be using in this particular presentation. The first is a reference of Nurses' Health Study. Now, this study was run through the Harvard Medical School, one of the longest running scientific studies that have been running for over 44 years now. Now, that's a very long duration of follow-up, and some of the key lessons learned through the study are really powerful. You can check it up yourself. And the second key reference point that I would be using is that of the Blue Zone study. And I'll explain these Blue Zone study in a moment. So I think let's first take a big picture. I want to be very clear here. I'm not trying to promote a diet plan. I'm not trying to get you to buy any supplements from me. None of that. I want to provide you with a big picture so that you can develop a framework, a system for yourself. What is the real purpose of food? Have you ever thought about it? That what is the purpose of this food that I'm putting in my mouth? So let me explain to you 3 different aspects, the way how I look at it, and then I'll take you into a different dimension as well about the purpose of food. So the physical aspect is nourishment to reduce inflammation and to provide strength. That I think most of us get. mental aspects of the food is that it provides you with energy to your brain so that you can maintain your focus and you can maintain good mental health and well-being. But we know that there is a social aspect to food as well, which allows us to connect with other human beings, family, friends, relatives, acquaintances, to have a shared experience, to express our care and concern. I'm sure many of us know how our mothers express, I should say, their love and affection for us. It's mostly through food. And also and appreciation. So these are all social aspects of it. But I think at the essence of all of this is we understand that food, whatever you're putting in your mouth, is actually becoming a part of you. So if you're putting good quality stuff, well, that is becoming good quality cells, tissues, and organs. But here are two other aspects that I want to bring to the forefront. One is an emotional aspect, and the other is a spiritual aspect. As you heard me right earlier, I'm bringing about a holistic perspective on nutrition and gut health. So the emotional aspects are that, and this can work against us or it can work for us. I know this, that individuals who have had long-term weight issues have experienced emotional eating issues because they are using food to feed their emotions. So what foods such as chocolates, cakes, sugars, and caffeine is doing is actually giving them an emotional kick. But what happens after that spike goes off is that they start to feel guilty. They start to feel poorly about themselves. The good aspect of that is, and I have personally felt it, whenever I've been feeling a bit low or a bit flat, I have often said that, hey, let's do some cooking together to my wife and to get the kids involved as well. And cooking at home and getting everybody involved has been a bit of a mood uplifter for me personally. And I know there are several studies to attest that because it creates those bonds. Also, emotionally, having food on the table, sitting together, expressing grace is a beautiful act which actually uplifts us and gives us a sense of bonding and connection. There is a spiritual element to that as well, which means really a gratitude or saying grace. Fasting is another spiritual element which is practiced by many religions, where it is looked upon as a means of atonement or sacrifice. And of course, many of us consider food as an offering to the universal source that has provided us with all of this as a blessing. So I'm just giving you a bigger perspective over here. But in a sense, when you are eating for what I call a bidirectional benefit. What I mean by that is, on one aspect, you are consuming food so that it can nourish you and it can strengthen you. But the other side is that it can help you with healthy aging by reducing harm, because that's the downside of anything that we are putting in our mouth. It has got the potential to work on both sides. It can either help you and heal you, or it can hurt you. And that's what we are going to go into a little bit deeper. And there are three myths that I'm going to be talking about today. So myth number one is that proteins are the only food groups to focus on. And I hear this time and time again, that all my patients who have had surgery or who are on a diet or whatever it may be are focusing on protein only. They're almost becoming, there is the title of this book called Proteinaholic, and they are just having proteins. Well, the fact of the matter is, friends, that just like there is balance in nature, your body needs balance too. And that balance will come when there is balance on your plate. And that's critical to understand, that having a variety of proteins, carbohydrates, fats, There are healthy fats, there are healthy proteins, and there are healthy carbohydrates. And besides this, there could be healthy micronutrients. Now, again, as I said to you, I'm not trying to promote a diet necessarily, but what I'm trying to promote is holistic well-being principles of eating. Then is myth number two. I can only get good quality protein from animal sources, such as lean meats, eggs, chicken, and fish. Well, that is a myth. Look at this study, which came out in 2020, published in the Journal of American College of Physicians. And what it said was that adherence to pro-inflammatory dietary patterns is associated with increased cardiovascular risk. Now, what they found was that if you look at the top left part of this diagram, it actually shows that having more of red meats, processed meats, organ meats specifically, and also sweetened beverages and refined carbohydrates is associated with increased inflammation in your body, whereas increased intake of green leafy vegetables, whole grains, fruits, tea, coffee, wine, and others reduces inflammation. It has an anti-inflammatory effect. This graph I have taken specifically from the Blue Zone study. Now, just to give you a bit of a background, Blue Zones was a project, and I'll talk more about that in a moment, where they looked at the longest living individuals on the planet who were healthy and feeling fit into their 70s and 80s, which was amazing. They were even living into their hundreds, you know. So what I'm trying to get at is that there was a great deal of key information that came out of that study. And the summary of it is right in front of you. 4 things that they would always do is having whole grains, taro, quinoa, brown rice, and these kind of whole grains. They were having nuts, a handful a day. They were having beans, great source of protein and fiber. And they were having, of course, fruits and vegetables, 5 to 10 servings per day. What they were avoiding was sugar-sweetened beverages. They were not having Cokes and Pepsis and Pepsi Max and Coke Zeros, you know. They were avoiding salty snacks. Now, having too much salt is not good for you. They were avoiding packaged sweets such as cookies, candies, processed sweets, and also avoiding processed meats because they are linked to cancers and heart disease. Now, these were the 5 blue zones. And look at that. In Okinawa, their highest source of food was and ingredients were coming from yam, which is a type of a sweet potato. In Ikaria in Greece, it was black-eyed beans. In Sardinia, they loved their cheeses, you know. So pumpkins in Nicoya in Costa Rica and in Loma Linda, there was nuts and activity. So these were just one aspect. I'm only focusing on the nutrition, but there were other factors as well, which were playing a huge part in the longevity. And I would urge you, if you want to, there is a very good documentary series on Netflix on the Blue Zones project. Watch it because it's really amazing. So keeping this in mind, myth number 3 is that my diet has little bearing on my gut health. Now, that is a thing that I hear time and time again because people think that gut health is all about taking a probiotic and trying some fancy supplements and all of that. They do not take care of the diet. Well, that is so missing the mark because if you see on these 2 pyramids, which are inverse pyramids, on the left side, if you see as you are progressing from processed diet to more whole food grains, fruits and vegetables, your gut microbiome is actually getting more diverse because what you're giving in your diet is fiber to the good bacteria. As you move away and you have more and more of sugars, carbs, cakes, and pastries and muffins, well, that is going to actually feed the bad bacteria in your gut because there is hardly any fiber in it. There are studies that actually talk about high caloric, highly processed diets lead to what is called as gut dysbiosis because it increases gut permeability, which is another name for called leaky gut, and that is associated with fatty liver, and metabolic syndrome. In fact, this particular study, which came out only last year in 2023, talks about low-grade inflammation associated with ultra-processed food consumption. And what it, in a sense, what it said was that this typical Western diet of carbonated drinks and processed foods is actually leading to oxidative stress and increased inflammation, which not only affects your gut, but it affects systemically, which means other organs of the body. So if you want to learn more about it, and I'm not using this as a pitch, I have recently come up with an updated and revised edition of my book, which is Happy Gut, Healthy Weight. It's available on Amazon. It's a 2024 edition, and I've made a huge effort to revamp the content of the book and put in lots of QR codes that you can scan and watch the videos about. But talking about inflammation in the body, if you are keen to know more about it, I have made a YouTube video on how to reduce inflammation by using this 4x4 anti-inflammatory lifestyle protocol. It actually takes you week by week on how you can progress using this protocol. Besides this, red meat is a specific offender when it comes to increasing inflammation in the body. Now, I know as a society, we have all been trained to have your piece of steak, because if you don't have your steak, you will be low on your iron and your protein, and that's not good. Well, I'll tell you honestly, I used to consume meat, but 22 years ago, I gave it up. Just in light of evidence and all the studies that I was reviewing, I get my iron levels checked every year. I get my full blood workup, cholesterol, and everything. And what I'm just trying to get at is that you can maintain a healthy iron level without having red meats. But here is the important thing. Get your ferritin levels checked. If your blood ferritin and CRP levels are high, as you can see in this study, right at the bottom, that is an indication that there is too much inflammation in your body. High ferritin is linked to high risks of cancer and cardiovascular disease. Besides this, watch the cooking oil that you are using for cooking your meals. I've made a YouTube video exactly on this subject, which talks about, is your cooking oil making you fat? That is something that I would urge you to focus on educating yourself. So to summarize, there are 7 nutritional principles that I talk about. Number 1, eat with a sense of gratitude. The moment you eat with a sense of gratitude, you have calmed that fight or flight response. So you're eating in a calm state where your body can break down the nutrients and it can actually absorb. Number 2 is eat mindfully, not in front of distractions like doing your work on a computer screen, watching movies, and putting food in your mouth, because that's called mindless eating. Third, have a balance of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins on your plate. Number 4, eat whole foods the way nature made it. I often say that see how your grandparents or great-grandparents would have had their meals. They would not have had potato chips coming out of packets or having Coke and Pepsi, not at all. So they would be eating whole foods the way nature made it. It's a very important practice to have salads before your mains, because what you're doing is you are loading yourself up on fiber, which is food for your gut bacteria, good gut bacteria, which boost metabolism and reduce inflammation. Number 6, eat between a window of 8 o'clock in the morning to 6 in the evening. So you can have your breakfast at about 8 o'clock and finish off your day with dinner at about 6:30. That means you're giving yourself almost 14 hours of fasting time beyond that window or outside that window. That itself is called intermittent fasting. And that'll allow the key concepts of autophagy, which means your body starts to clean itself up when you do this intermittent fasting. And the last and the most important thing is, within the time of 8 to 6 p.m. in the evening, 8 a.m. in the morning to 6 p.m. in the evening, eat small and often. You don't have to load yourself up such that you are absolutely full. There is, in fact, a Japanese philosophy that actually talks about that eat up to 80% of your capacity only. Leave that 20% such that your body has the ability to digest. So I hope you found these principles useful, and you will take some of them, if not all of them, to start applying into your own system and develop a own framework. Next class or next session will be on focusing on sleep. Until then, take care and stay safe. All the best.